Hello, hi, and welcome again to the Terminal Podcast, where in the end, it's all about the numbers. Tonight is the Friday night press box edition, and although it's technically Saturday morning, here are some game notes and unprinted content from my time reporting on Whitefield Academy hosting Mount Vernon and in Mableton, which is right outside of Smyrna, and they weren't very kind host, finishing the game with a 35-10 victory. You can read the full game story in the Cobb Football Friday section of the Marietta Daily Journal. That's mdjonline.com. The best high school football coverage in Cobb County and across the metro Atlanta area. Once again, visit Cobb Football Friday at mdjonline.com. But of course, you knew that already. What you didn't know is getting to the game early allows press, especially small time writers like myself, a chance to get familiar with getting on the field. And that's always easiest to then introduce yourself and be able to get on the field easy after the game to speak to the coaches again. I was there early enough to watch Mount Vernon's kicker Nick Soroka, Sroka, Soroka, practicing pregame. He was easily clearing 45 yards. Uh, and I'm watching this going, that adds a different aspect to the Mustangs offense after watching last week where people could barely punt, yet alone set up for a 47-yard field goal with confidence. It was just interesting to see that. The coaches at the 50-yard line is another thing you can introduce yourself to any aspiring journalists out there who like covering high school football games and decided to peek in on this. That's the best way. The coaches usually meet around midfield, and when they were talking to one another, I was waiting to introduce myself. Luckily, In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins was playing, and everybody had to pause for the drum solo. Uh, that song was the last before it switched to an ongoing selection by students, I can only assume, because to go from an 80s classic to uh, some sort of TikTok, I can't even, it's a whole music conversation. But just know that I recognize that all that stopped about 20 minutes before kickoff when Ozzy Osbourne's Scream started Crazy Train, and the opening announcements began soon after that. The opening kick was a long return by Parker Shem, whose name I'm probably messing up, for Whitefield Academy. And it was the first of numerous plays on special teams. That was this entire, wasn't the entire game, but it was a huge part of it. Just the way the ball moved around field position wise. A lot of long runs, a lot of other things, which I'll get to in moments. But Whitefield was able to easily move the ball down the field from there because they started on their own 44-yard line. But two plays later, they're 10 yards away, and Mason Hollinsworth is the gentleman's name. He scored from 24 yards out, and the 1-2 punch is Bryce Duck. He would score later on, but a lot of people are going to find out about Mason. He's a tall, angular, offensive guy. You can kind of see him as a slot receiver, but when he runs through tackles, he knocks away and things like that. But Mount Vernon didn't really have an answer for him. Their offense tried to answer back. They've run 3 and 4 wide all the time and were set up to punt, but it was the first of many special teams flubs. Uh, Mostly on bad snaps. A lot of bad snaps that were either, or am I merging last week along with this week? Just bad snaps, fumbled, things like that. This was recovered by Josh Wagner for Mount Vernon, which was the best way that they were able to move the ball on that first drive. Um, Another bad snap, this one on offense, pushed the Mustangs back, and Soroka was unable to show off that leg because of a blocked punt, that kind of a blocked field goal, I mean, by Bryce, whose name I'm forgetting now, but it makes a difference because it's in the story. The story doesn't get a chance to mention Mount Vernon's punt. It was a punt attempt. Um, and the thing was, it bounced off of the punt returner's chest, and they were able to come up with it and get the ball and allowed Whitfield to start at their own 35. Like I said, just a lot of plays like that where it seems like something simple is going to happen, but it just wasn't. Whitfield, like on this play, Whitfield gets it on third down and comes up about 3 yards short and just rushes to the line of scrimmage. Mount Vernon completely caught off guard, I guess. The only thing is you kind of had already seen into the late second quarter that no one's kicking game was working right. The defense, unfortunately for them, the Mustangs defense was just not ready for it. And Whitfield literally just ran up, handed the ball off to Hollingsworth, and just pushed the pile forward. And that was, um, you know, good enough. Well, he was going to say basically, they were able to slow things down in the second half, but by then it was almost too late because they just weren't able to do much, even when they had the ball. Uh, they got that. Bryce Duck scored his second touchdown, and they go in, and it was a two-step forward, one step back kind of way it went for them.
We get a good drive, and a penalty or something happens where we just got to look at ourselves and you got to play better as an individual for the collective to play better. Okay.
And that unfortunately didn't happen for Mount Vernon. Another the thing was the best way, and I put it in the main story, but it was literally to start off the second half. Whitefield Academy comes up to the line, and all 11 of the players are standing right next to one another. They're not spread out for for a kickoff. They're lined up like it's an onside kickoff because they're all bunched up together. Mount Vernon's players are lined up like it's a regular kickoff. None of them seem to react. The coaches are screaming and yelling up in the booth, saying, "Hey, get somebody on, get somebody, pay attention, pay attention." Just didn't happen. They literally just roll the ball forward 10 yards, and you've got this wave of 10, 11 guys all racing on one Mount Vernon, I would say defender, but he seemed defensive and scared, and the ball hits him and then pops up, and Whitfield's all on it. And 6 plays later, Hollingsworth in the end zone for a 3-yard touchdown, a 28-7 lead. And that's pretty much the game right there. It's as I was trying to say before, a lot of the special teams was the big problem. And well, depends on who you want to look at it as. In my opinion, both teams struggled with their special teams at times, and other times they were to play good, but no, you had a quote set up with Coach Walls talking about his.
A lot of time on special teams. We do a great job with our kicking game and on our return game. We really try to put it in our playmakers' hands and let them make plays.
So that's kind of what happened for Whitefield Academy. They were, I don't want to say easily, but it wasn't as stressful as I mean, the score never seemed stressful, but the coaches will always find mistakes and things like that. But really, size wise, the offensive line, as is in the story, they completely dominated. Their the defensive side as well. The defensive line for Whitefield Academy was able to consistently put pressure on the quarterback, who this was his second game playing quarterback, which I found shocking because last week he went for a total combined for 400 yards, 250 rushing, and 150 through the air, which doesn't sound like much, but if it's your Second game playing quarterback in high school. It's
He played for like a second time starting quarterback tonight. This is second game of second time starting quarterback, so he played like that tonight. But he's resilient. He's gonna get back to work on Monday. He's gonna take coaching, and he's gonna play better next week.
that's what you and I and any and every coach can only ask for, which is hopefully we can play better next week. Hopefully we can do this podcast a little bit better next week. That's all you can ask for. This is the last call from the press box after Whitefield Academy's 35-14 victory over Mount Vernon. Once again, you can read the full game story in the Cobb Football Friday section of the Marietta Daily Journal. That's mdjonline.com. I'd like to thank you for stopping by the terminal and wish you safe travels as you continue down your highway.